key general topic, clinical evidence generation. So why don't you start us off in sort of defining what that looks like relevant to the FDA and the clinical evidence guidelines?
Yeah, so maybe as you mentioned, I've spent 25 years in this industry, most of it heavily slanted towards pharma. And general development of drugs is pretty structured within the pharma world, and FDA and EMEA and other regulatory bodies give you a pretty clear path to how to bring a product like a drug to market. So evidence generation in that world is really driven by what is the unmet medical need you're trying to meet from a product perspective, and what evidence do you think you need to generate to meet that need. And I guess it's relatively more straightforward in the drug side, because you're looking at the effect of a drug on a body. It produces some type of impact related to some disease or condition, and then you're trying to prove that your drug works as you say it's supposed to. So you develop studies that work in that space. Devices is a whole nother game. In that world of evidence, right? And evidence, as I've learned in my short career here in the device world, means a whole bunch of different things. From the sense of, does it work as it's designed from an engineering perspective? Is it similar to stuff that's already on the market? Typical claims that you might have in a pharma world don't necessarily translate into that same space in the device world. Most of the devices that are out there don't have a whole lot of indication information in their approved labelings. And so, how do you generate clinical evidence that means anything in a device world outside of, let's say, higher risk class 3 devices or PMA related devices? I think one of the benefits we've gotten is the EU MDR regulations that have come out in Europe that really are going to hone in to say, hey, you need to prove some clinical benefit to your products if you're going to market those in Europe. And I think that's really forced, at least the two companies I've been involved with on the device side, to really think about what is it we're trying to state about these products, what type of clinical evidence do we need, and how do we go about getting it in products, some of them that are 20, 25 years old that have been in the market for a while, and others that are coming along new who may not be high risk or devices that you would want to do that. What do we do in those spaces? So it's been a really interesting journey.
You mentioned a really key point in terms of, on the pharma side, you're trying to develop a product, and you're defining its efficacy, you're defining the therapeutic area or disease process that you want it to treat, what type of contraindications, symptoms, effects, side effects from that, and then define that it brings a benefit to a patient population within a relevant risk that's acceptable with the fewest amount of side effects, and it's a reproducible product. But that formula, in terms of after you've defined that, is fairly straightforward, whereas you just spoke to the complexity of the medical device side. And when you think about the higher percentage of products that come to market are piggybacked off the 510K process. So there's a predicate device that's already in the marketplace. And you're trying to say that, hey, our product clinically and how it affects patients does the exact same thing. It's just got some different bells and whistles. So is that part of how it's a little more challenging to determine that clinical evidence generation? Maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
Absolutely. When you say that the two companies I've been at, like 80% of the products are 510K related products, and we have absolutely no data clinically from a study perspective on it. Now, we've got a ton of use data, right? And so I think as you look at the complexity of clinical evidence in the world of devices, the shift we're in is one where we actually will probably move towards more real world evidence. And what do we actually have when our products are being used? Because to do a larger scale clinical study for some of these products, one, it doesn't financially make sense for the company, and two, it's probably not going to show anything that you don't already know from real world evidence anyway.
Right.
And so,
and your margins
it just may. and margins are really tight. So, coming from the pharma side, it's just baked into the overall operating model that for developing a product, you're going to spend millions in the development space from a clinical trial perspective, and the device side, you don't have that kind of margin in developing products and bringing them through.
Hear me, won't you speak to me when I open up? And I forward my thoughts to you, but sometimes I'd say you're thinking too much, and I don't wanna hang. Oh, there's a roller